What's up guys, it's Project back with another build video. With the new update adding new armor, weapons, and decos to the mix, the question begged to be asked was, is Narga still the best? And I'm happy to say it is finally dethroned. After various tests, damage calcs, etc., there is a new clear winner for version 2.0. Before we begin, all builds were done with Wex 2 with a level 2 slot. You might get away with Quick Sheave level 2 in a level 2 slot, but essentially, from here on out, this late into the game, you're gonna need some good charms to put these builds together. Otherwise, stick with Narga, which is the easiest to build and should be your go-to till HR 40, when you can start working towards these other builds. And lastly, all test comparisons are with no food buffs, no item buffs, or cat buffs in the training room. So, buildo, stoto. Let's just jump right in. Enter Tiger King Longsword. It got an upgrade, which gave it innate white sharpness alongside a 230 raw base. It comes with negative affinity and no slots, but it doesn't matter. Over 50 raw compared to Narg as a base, even if this thing goes in blue, it outdamages full DPS Narg in white. So the main strat is to just increase its affinity. Now there is two ways to go about a build, but my setup is the most optimal given the charm. Attack level 5, crit eye level 6, crit boost level 2, max might level 2, and max Wex with the usual stuff with diversion for solo play. This gives you 80% crit chance hitting a weak spot and max might activated. The other version you'll probably see around loses attack for max crit eye and level 3 maximum might with level 3 crit boost. However, it is 1 point behind compared to my setup. Also, using a Palico with Rousing Roar and Power Drum, my attack setup blows the other out the water, as Rousing Roar gives you 30% affinity, whereas a full affinity build already caps out, so there's no chance for further increase, which is the same problem Narga has, a high crit base, but a low ceiling to increase damage further, from other sources like the cats or the little fishy things in the Ice Age, or from a Hunting Horn user that gives affinity up. This is where these raw builds end up beating full crit builds. So, you want to go attack and bring some fighter Palicos for the Rousing Roar buff. And these calcs are not factoring the reason Tigrex is beating Narg, Silk Bind Boost. If you upgrade from the prior sword tree instead of forging Tigrex Longsword, you can equip Silk Bind Boost to the prior sword first, then upgrade to Tigrex, and it'll retain that Silk Bind Boost on it. Meaning your Helmbreakers get a 10% boost in damage, netting you a whopping 213 per tick in white on crits. So yeah, this is the Tigrex build. It is the new meta. To forge the last level of Tigrex, you will have to beat Diora at HR 30, but to put the build together, you basically need to be over 40 minimum, as lots of the decos use Teostra parts. Now, you might say,
well, what about Master's Touch, since Tigrex has a little white and blue?
Well, that's where build 2 comes in for the reality of Master's Touch. Enter, Chammy Whammy. That's an old Jammer Lammy reference for my OGs out there. PlayStation bros. Anyways, Camilleos got lots of talk potentially being competitive, and I can say, well, it does. For speed's sake, I'm just gonna say it outright. Master's Touch on Chammy is a DPS loss. I know, shocking. Ooh. But I did 2 DPS tests against the poll, which you've been seeing from Tigrex already, where the DPS test for all the builds was 5 Helmbreakers in a row using the same Spear Slash and Face Slash combo to get to red each time, where I start with Helmbreaker in red and end in Helmbreaker with the final 5th. And with DPS Chammy, which reaches 100% affinity, you get a solid 9.6k. Meanwhile, Tigrex got over 10k multiple times, despite having 80% crit at best. Flash forward to Master's Touch Chammy build, having to go down to attack level 4 and crit boost level 2 to fit in Master's Touch, it got around just under 9.2k consistently. So, the DPS version is better. Perhaps with the God Charm, Masters could be better with more attack and crit boost, but for the common hunter with just a Wex 2 level 2 slot, DPS is the way to go. You will need Handicraft level 2 to reach white sharpness, so that's why that's there. For comparison to Narg, here's the calcs. Beats out Narg. And before sharpness is brought up, yes, both Chammy and Tigrex have less sharpness, but that is what the DPS tests are to show, that even when these new weapons deplete to blue, hell, even within the first 2 Helmbreakers as you saw, overall, over time, they will still outmatch Narga. And with Helmbreakers, you're guaranteed one sharpen fairly soon into a battle due to the ride mechanic, which Helmbreaker will proc very fast. So in most cases, you will never reach green. You simply sharpen before then and you're back up to white in 2 seconds. The same reason you would sharpen Narga to stay back in white is the same reason you would sharpen these weapons too. There's kind of no difference. Monster changes area? Sharpen. Cat puts the monster to sleep? Sharpen. In multiplayer and someone else gets the mount? Simply sharpen. Simple as that. Unfortunately, the Chameleon's Soul ramp up skill ends up being not good at all. You only gain 1 or 2 buffs every other minute or so, with no more than 2 buffs going up at one time from my test with Longsword. The little attack buff gets you plus 12 attack, but only gaining it for 30 seconds every minute or even as long as 10 minutes apart depending on bad RNG, it is way worse than taking attack boost 2 ramp up skill. So go attack boost instead of soul. If you were interested in a Master's Touch build to not have to sharpen as much, well, that's where the last build steps in. Yes, despite being dethroned, R. Kelly Narga
Baby, I'm not going nowhere. Look at me. You understand me?
still clutches on for dear life and, well, it's still probably the best second or third build. With the new stuff, getting max Narga is easy, even with just a 2/2 slot charm with no skills. However, this is where Master's Touch actually boosts DPS. That's right, sacrificing 1 attack for just 2 slots of Master's Touch. Narga got a consistent 9.3 to 9.4k using the same combat loop as the last. And, unlike the others, by the 5th Helmbreaker, it stayed in white sharpness still. This actually beat out attack level 7 with peak performance level 1 variation. So, if you don't want to sharpen as much as the other builds, then Narga is still the best build for you. For ramp up, you still get attack level 3, and yeah, good luck getting the decos for each build, it was fairly hard to grind. So, as one last recap, here's each build's final DPS test against the turtle. Over 10k for Tigrex, 9.6k for Chameleos, and 9.3 to 4k for Narga. With a rousing Roarcat with Power Drum, the first 2 builds should be better than Narga overall. Although, for a non-pro that wastes attacks a lot, maybe struggles to hit weak points, or is bad at countering and landing Helmbreakers, then Narga Master Touch just might be the best build for you. If you're wondering about Beetlejuice Longsword, unfortunately it wasn't impressive, which largely has to do with no white sharpness without a costly investment into handicraft. And with the lack of raw attack ramp up skill, it scored around 9.1k with the blast procs activating more than they would be in a real battle. But yeah, those are the new meta longsword builds. Now we wait 1 more month to do it all over again. But that's it for me, hope you guys enjoyed the builds. I stream on YouTube for multiplayer hunts every weekend, well, at least one of those days, Saturday or Sunday, so hop in for some hunts and I'm usually live around 8 PM. I won't do an updated version for Chargeblade and Hammer videos. Tigrex Hammer is likely the best one now, and Chargeblade got Tigrex 2 and Rachna, which the latter is potentially very strong for spinning / style against fire weak mons. But I want to move on to different builds, so the next is going to be Bow for meta build video. So yeah, I only did Longsword because views. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. Master touch that like button and subscribe and hit the noti for more Rise epicness.